Well, um, the New York Jets are 3-9, just like we all thought they would be, right? The funniest thing I think about them being 3-9, right, is the pure fact that they're still considered in this thing. Like they're not mathematically eliminated yet, and I know it's hilarious. It's hilarious, but the New York Jets, believe it or not, are still considered to be a team that is in the hunt, right? And if you think I'm kidding when I say that, right? Like let me just show it to you guys because I thought it was comical as well. And yet here we are. The New York Jets at 3-9 are still in the playoff hunt. It's just funny at this point. I mean, really, it's just funny. Listen, man. So it is what it is. The Jets, played again on Sunday. They embarrassed us per usual. We're gonna talk about it. Tonight's guest, we got Marcus Santiago in the building with us, and we're gonna talk New York Jets, man. At the end of the day, it is what it is. We're here. We're 3-9. I don't think anybody thought this was going to be the case, especially when you take into consideration that Aaron Rodgers has played every freaking snap. There's really been little injuries on the offensive side of the football. Nevertheless, here we are, 3-9. Man, this team has really done a number on us, the fans. Let's talk about it.
I can do it all, I will never fall. It's the Renaissance, you know that I got the mother sauce. You know I'm the boss, I know what it costs. Have you ever lost? I'm so versatile, yeah, I'm a Renaissance man. I can do it all, I will never fall. It's the Renaissance, you know that I got the mother sauce. You know I'm the boss, I know what it costs. Have you ever lost? I'm so versatile, yeah, I'm a Renaissance man.
Congratulations, brother. Hey.
And here we go. Yeah. Um, yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things where you watch the games on Sunday because we're gonna still watch it, right? Like I'm gonna still watch, and even though I kind of know what to expect, like how this team is going to go ahead and frustrate me or break my heart or whatever, I still want to believe that these guys are going to go ahead and figure it out. I mean, the Jets literally teased us with a half of complimentary football. They gave us a glimpse of being a team that had gotten it figured out. They came back from the bye week, put their freaking minds together. They got together or whatever, and they literally played complimentary football, defense, special teams, offense. It looked good, but it took a missed throw by Aaron Rodgers, and then the very next play, a pick six to completely derail the day. Like, think about that. Think about how much of a mental, I don't know if you can say midget, that seems insensitive. A mental little person you got to be, right? For you to go ahead and be playing as well as you were against an opponent that's, again, backs against the wall. And one little fiasco, one little glimpse of adversity it knocks you out. Literally knocks you out. You're incapable of performing. The Jets showed us something though. They showed us something, man. They are impacted by leadership and guidance, severely impacted, and I'm talking about like in a negative sense. I mean, once they got punched in the mouth, they fold, man. These guys fold. They can't take a hit. The moment things got rough, the very instant it got rough, it was over for them. The day was over. And what makes it worse is the hidden impact of the New York Jets coaches have shined through. They are so inept, so incapable that when their players are looking for guidance, direction, whatever it might be that a coach is supposed to do in a situation when your team seems to have lost the energy or the fight or whatever, they bring nothing to the table. Like we got to witness that live, that at home when you've been taking advantage of this team the entire day, the moment your team got punched in the mouth, you had no recourse. You had no idea what to do. The coaching staff proved that they are inept beyond inept, and they're the hidden impact as to why this team is as bad as it's been. I look at the players, and you got to go ahead and hold them accountable as well. But the coaching of this team has been so atrocious, and I'm talking about from head coach, offense, defense, freaking special teams, offensive line. It's been bad. It's been bad. So we're going to talk about it. We got Marcus in the building, and we're going to go ahead and talk Jets, man. It's one of those things where I can sit up here and talk about this team, and I'm telling you, I don't understand how to explain it without having some kind of someone to kind of bounce my ideas off of, because ultimately, this team is a freaking enigma. Oddly enough, the Aaron Rodgers freaking documentary is coming out called him being an enigma. I digress. But without further ado, Marcus Santiago. Marcus,
Oh,
what's up, my guy? Oh, you're flipped.
am I sideways?
Yeah, you a little sideways, my boy. Hold on 1 second here. We got a little. Nope, now you're upside down. Oh, wait a minute. You almost had it.
Man, what's going on with the
There it is.
camera,
There it is.
man? What's going on? What's
What's up,
going
bro?
on,
How you
Gunny?
doing, man?
How are you, man?
I've been better, man. I've been better, man.
Uh,
I think you can agree. We've been chopping it up and talking about this team, man, and how much they've just demoralized us as fans, demoralized our belief in what football is supposed to look like. I don't get it, man. I mean, again, we've been talking about it. We're both baffled as to how we've gotten to this point. When you look at this team, man, 3-9, and then again, still in the playoff hunt. We're still in the fight. Still in the fight. What what happened, Marcus? Like, what happened with the New York Jets?
well, first off, Gunny, let me show my appreciation of having me on here. I really appreciate it. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you just fine.
All right, cool. Yeah, I lost my voice over Thanksgiving, so I'm just getting it back. But I really appreciate, the camera time and everything. And
Of course.
I don't know, man. If you rewind the tape, I really think things kind of with the knee jerk situation of getting rid of Robert Saleh. I think that's kind of where it all started. Um, yeah, people were calling for his head, but at the end of the day, right, it's a rash decision to make, especially during the season, especially that early in the season where we're still fighting for first place. I believe we're going against Buffalo. Me and you talked about it. I think that was the last time we spoke. I still had hopes and aspirations of us being able to get that first place spot, being able to play for the playoffs. And once that happened, it just seemed like you nailed it on the head. Leadership, accountability, what this team does when they get punched in the mouth, they just can't seem to get it right and they can't seem to win a game. It's almost like we find ways to lose games and we just don't have that dog in any of these players that are out there right now. And you think with the Aaron Rodgers acquisition, you thought that that was going to be the leadership, but I guess we all got fooled because it doesn't seem like he was a very good leader to begin with, and I think we all put blinders on to that. And there's really nobody to take charge and take the bull by the horns with this team.
Yeah, I think what it boils down to is um, the leadership. I think the leadership aspect is the only thing I can think of that would explain why this team has looked the way it's looked. Because if you think about the not acquisition, but bringing in a guy like an Aaron Rodgers, right? We talked about being literally one play away for the last, I mean, my goodness, several freaking years, a couple years now. We've been talking about like we're one player away. All we need to do is freaking get the quarterback, and we can go ahead and figure this thing out. And you bring
Mm-hmm.
in one of the best quarterbacks of all time, a GOAT, and he folds. Like he's been incapable of well, I guess producing is really the word. It's one of those things, man, where you don't know what the solution is. You don't know what the answer to the question. I don't know. I have no idea how to go ahead and freaking um, fix this team. I thought I did, right? I think the majority of us thought, like, yeah, let's be honest. It's as simple as the quarterback. We got the defense. We got the running back, right? And yet somehow, some way, it just never resonated. Like it never came to fruition. And at this point, man, what's the direction? What can we do as a fan base in order for us to go ahead and, I don't know, get back on track?
Yeah, I think us as Jets fans, right, fanatic Jet fans, if you would, we almost look at the Aaron Rodgers deal as if it was going to be the savior of the team.
right? That's what we were missing. We were missing a good quarterback, and you didn't even have to be good. You could just be above average, right? To where you control the ball, you control the game, you don't turn it over, you do the typical stuff that Aaron Rodgers could do in his sleep. But I feel like after that season of him with the Achilles injury, I want to say that we held on to hope because us as fans, we have no other hope but having a good quarterback or a decent quarterback to lead the charge, right? And when he goes down, the problem that we all had as fans, and especially supporting this team, is it was just, yeah, he's the guy, he's the guy, he's the guy. I don't really think we all took into account how devastating that injury was possibly going to be. And with him being away from football for so long, yeah, it's not really like riding a bike. Being out there on an NFL team, doing it week after week, that is crucial, right? You might be able to do it for a game, you might be able to have flashes, but at the end of the day, to do it for 17 weeks, I mean, that's a whole nother order to ask.
No, that's fact. That's fact. I think when you look at the responsibilities, right, of a guy like an Aaron Rodgers or the GM, the coaching across the board, everybody has to just do their job. And I hate to kind of repeat that because yeah, the freaking Bill Belichick's of the world used to go ahead and reiterate this and use that as his mantra.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
the fact of the matter is, it really boiled down to something as simple as doing your job. If you did your job, you know what I'm saying, you were good to go. You were able to go ahead and achieve success. You saw everybody on a Belichick ran team. Everybody did their job. They took their job seriously, and they were successful because of it. We haven't we haven't seen this team do their job consistently. I don't understand the why behind that. I don't get what the issue is. But ultimately, it seems like either everyone's trying to do too much or they're incapable of doing enough. And somebody feels like they got to go ahead and carry the mantle, so to speak. And when doing that, they falter. They fall. They they continue to fail and embarrass themselves consistently. And again, it starts from the top down, right? So we got rid of Joe Douglas and we got rid of Coach Salah. And we were hoping that, that spark with the old brick getting bricked up, we all had that little run for a little bit. It was going to go ahead and do us wonders. Yet, wasn't the case.
Mm.
So, in terms of the coaching, what do you think the problem is, man? Do you think it's just too much? It's too big for a guy like Ulbrich? Maybe the opportunity came a little too fast. Like, what do you think the issue is right now with the Jets coaching? Because there's clearly an issue when it comes to the coaching staff.
Yeah, I think when you have a player like, and I hate to keep going and beating a dead horse with Aaron Rodgers, right? But I don't really feel like there's anybody there to hold him accountable. There's nobody there that could really sit there and possibly get into his face and be like, listen, man, we brought you in here to do a job. We brought you in here for this reason. If you're not going to do it this way, that's not what we need right now, right? Somebody has to ground him to say, listen, man, you just aren't playing well. Now, when you're a quarterback, it doesn't matter what's going on in the game, how we lose the game, how we win the game. It's always going to land back on that guy. It's going to land on the quarterback, right?
Right.
Albrick is not the coach, and this situation that he was dealt was not really in the cards. None of this shit was even supposed to happen this season, right? This was supposed to be a playoff team. This was supposed to be a Super Bowl caliber team, but yet here we are lighting the nuke and blowing everything up in the middle of the season. So Albrick wasn't expecting that. And at the end of the day, he's a defensive coordinator, right? And when you put defensive coordinators in a position to be a head coach, that's a totally different job. Sometimes it works, very rarely does it work. And when
Right.
it does work, it works well, right? But those guys are way too few, far, and in between to sit there and put him on this train wreck and just dump it all on his shoulders. I feel like there's no accountability. Nobody wants from the top down to really let these players know how it's supposed to be. And it all starts with having a conversation. If Aaron Rodgers is the guy and you need him to be the guy, well, then you need him to be that MVP veteran to go ahead and be that leader, be the spotlight for this team, not like the press conference that he just had after this game talking about, there's 11 guys on this team. When I'm doing bad, I'm doing bad, but the magnifying glass needs to be looked at, right? And that's another thing too, right? There was so high of expectations for this team coming into the beginning, especially everything with one jet drive, the whole thing they did. I mean, you had people really thinking the Jets were going to the Super Bowl. They were Aaron Rodgers away. And now we're no GM, no head coach, interims, Woody Johnson doing who knows what up there, making what kind of decisions. We'd have no idea. So this is the hand that they've been dealt. You can't blame anybody on the coaching staff right now. They just got to ride this shit till the wheels fall off, and we damn near with one wheel left.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing, right? I think that we're here. Like you just said, man, this team was rated as one of the best rosters in the NFL. This team was being taunted as a potential AFC like first seed in the AFC, like surpassing the likes of the Buffalo Bills, the Kansas City Chiefs, the Baltimore Ravens. The hype was very much felt, and it wasn't just us, right? I think I want to come back to clarify that, like a lot of the trolls right now are coming out of the woodworks, and that's fine. Like this is what happens when we believed in our team. We were very very adamant about it. They of course made us look like fools yet again. So a lot of the trolls are coming out right now and they're having their little parades and enjoying life.
Sure.
But the fact of the matter is this: is that this wasn't just us. It wasn't just Jets fans who thought the Jets were going to go ahead and do freaking some amazing stuff this year. This was across the board. Like analysts, freaking sports enthusiasts, they all believe the Jets. Even other fans of other teams were like, "Man, the Jets are going to be scary." And if they
Sure.
bring in Devontae Adams, they're going to be even more terrible. Like other fans were saying this, so it wasn't just like, "Oh, we were just pumping our chest up to pump our chest up." This was the reality for the majority of individuals when it came to what this team could achieve. Now, granted, didn't happen. We're eating crow, as they say. But nevertheless, it's one of those things where I I have a hard time believing we were this far off. A hard time believing that we were this far off, right? So yeah, the record is 3-9. So they are what their record says they are. They're a garbage team. We're looking at a top 5, top 6 pick in the draft. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. But is it fixable? Like if you had to look at this team and make a decision on fixing it, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Again, keeping in mind that we all thought like we were just a quarterback away. We were obviously wrong. We were dead wrong about that. What do you do? Do we have the personnel in the building to fix it? Are you looking outside of these walls to go ahead and fix it? Does it start with the GM, the head coach? Do we need a new quarterback? Like, what do you think is going to be needed in order for us to go ahead and, in essence, fix this team?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that because I didn't want everything to be negative with what I was talking about today. Because there
Yeah,
are
there, there's some,
there's some silver linings in there, that for sure, right? Um, I feel the Jets might have to walk away from this defense first mentality and get into some offensive style coaching. This is what we've been lacking. This is what we've been needing. It it's gonna start from coaching, right? Because now you have to get into the mindset of some of these young guys that are in there right now and figuring out what they're looking at their NFL career to be. Because right now, you look at the Garrett Wilsons, you look at the Brees Halls, you look at the playmakers that we have, right? Those two in general, I don't know if they necessarily want to be Jets after this season is over with,
that's
right?
fair.
They don't have much of a choice, I believe, with some of the contract stipulations that they have. But you know, I don't feel like people want to come back and play for this team right now, and that's a scary spot to be in because We're a couple of offensive linemen away from building a really good offensive line. When that happens, the whole dynamics of that team is going to change.
Yep.
You don't need to be a great quarterback. I just think we got caught in a really bad situation. The magnifying glass of the New York Jets from the beginning of the season was too big for that team to handle. And it showed in the very first game playing the 49ers. People actually thought that that game was going to be winnable. People thought that game coming in was going to be close, and this is a whole put us on stage to see what the New York Jets are all about. And then the next thing you know, we get blown out the water, right? So it all started with that because I think some of these guys thought that by the roster that they had, they were going to walk into this NFL season like they were just going to be steamrolling people. And when that shit didn't happen, now, okay, what do we do? And I really feel like it goes back to the offensive play calling, right? Because we ain't putting points on the board. That you can only ask so much of the defense to do so much because they fight in an uphill battle every time they got to get back on the field with a 3 and out or some craziness that we're doing, turning the ball over when that wasn't that wasn't the design, right? The design wasn't to have a quarterback that never turns the ball over to be turning the ball over, right? And putting their defense in a bad spot. Now you look at the defense, right? You flip that. I mean, we 2 interceptions all year. Two, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
we've had some fumble recoveries here and there, right? Yeah, but the thing is they're doing all they can do sitting in the middle of the pack. And if you take a terrible defense, they'd be at the bottom of the pecking order with that kind of gameplay on offense. So for us to sit there third in the league, I believe, on yards allowed per game,
Hmm.
in the middle of the pack when it comes to, how you look at all the analytics that a defense takes, we're right there in the middle. And that's with the offense putting us in some really tough
Bad
situations.
situations. Yep.
So it starts from the top. They got to get back to coaching, right? That's going to be number one. I don't feel Joe Douglas did that terrible of a job to build his team. So the whole Joe Douglas situation was kind of crazy, if you ask me. I
I
don't know
feel
where
that.
that came from.
Yep.
Um, so there could be a lot more behind the scenes that people don't know. We don't know as fans. We don't know what his take on Aaron Rodgers was, whether he wanted to get him, whether he didn't, whether Woody wanted to bench him, whether he didn't. All this shit that's coming out is all crazy and madness, right? So we really don't know. We're in the dark. But he didn't do that bad of a job building a team because look where we are right now, right? A couple
Facts.
pieces away, right?
Yep.
Yeah, he made some bad decisions, but that's going to happen, right? You're going to draft people that you thought was going to be something, turn around and be nothing. But I feel like if the Jets turn around and they go into an offensive mindset, go and build an offensive team, right? Your defense pieces are already in place.
Yeah.
So all you got to do is just play average defense, but you got to put points on the board to win. And that's what we're not doing. So offense starts first with an offensive minded coach. That if I'm building this team, that's what I'm doing. I'm
Yep.
building the line. I already got thunder and lightning in the backfield. I already got receivers on the outside. I just need somebody to hold up and protect the quarterback, right? Long enough to be able to get some of these plays off and somebody that's not, you know, turning the ball over. Say what it is.
So you say that, right? And I gotta ask this question. So Aaron Rodgers right now, he's already made the statement that he wants to kind of come back, right? You got Wild Wave. So again, everybody who's watching me on Twitter and apparently now on Twitch, appreciate you, Wild Wave. I don't know what's going on. YouTube is it's not registering. It's telling me in the system that it's sending the information. It's not populating. I just updated RE Stream with this newest update that it came out with 2 days ago. Not sure what's going on. I'm trying to figure it out while we're actually interacting here, so bear with me. If not, I'll make sure I upload this episode on YouTube after the show. So To go back to what I see, Wild Wave talking about that we were never a QB away. Woody got impatient with the rebuild. Um, I don't know. And if I'm being honest, I look at what we've seen for the last couple of years. A team that's won 7 games, literally with bottom QB play. It's the worst. I think 30th ranked QB play the year before last, 31st last year. You talk about a
29th this
rotation.
year, 28th
29th
this
right
year.
now. Yeah, this year we're at 28, 29. And we're winning less games. So I look at it in terms of what the defense was supposed to be, what the special teams are supposed to be, and think about it. If you get our kicker makes 3 field goals, we're in a very different conversation right now about the New York Jets. There's potentially 4 more wins on the board right now, right? Like that's how close it's been. We've lost the majority of these games, with the exception of course, that 49ers game, by 1 possession or less.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not been because we've been, in my opinion, outplayed. I feel like we've been outcoached, and I feel like we don't have the toughness necessary to go ahead and finish games. That to me has been the underlying story here. So I think maybe we might have been a QB away. Unfortunately for us, the QB we got in Aaron Rodgers, he might be washed. He might be cooked. Again, I put a survey up on YouTube. Doesn't really matter. I see some of you guys were able to answer it, but for some reason, again, it is not populating over. I'm going to have to figure out what's going on with this thing. But I put a comment in there in regards to Aaron Rodgers, who's kind of made it known that he wants to go ahead and come back, and he wants to be the coach. I guess the quarterback for the Jets again next year, right? This documentary is coming out about the Enigma, and it looks kind of weird, but I'm going to watch it because it's Aaron Rodgers, and it looks kind of weird. Now, if Aaron Rodgers wants to come back next year to be our quarterback, and we get a different coach, we add to the offensive line. Devontae Adams obviously resigns, right? Like, do you think Aaron Rodgers, 2 years removed from the Achilles injury, might give us a better version of Aaron Rodgers, or do you think Aaron Rodgers is just cooked?
No, I think, see, it's subjective and it's speculation, right? That's what this question is, because he could come back and be in better form than he is right now.
Right.
Because I feel like he's had the season to figure out what this Achilles is going to allow him to do and not allow him to do. I did hear a very good point, though. I forgot who it was, but they were saying Aaron Rodgers, with that Achilles, still thinks he's the Aaron Rodgers that he was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And he won't change his game up because of what he still thinks he can do mentally, right? That's the kind of guy he is, right? It's
Yeah.
always mental with him. When you looked at Peyton Manning and you looked at Tom Brady and you looked at those guys, that he's trying to replicate that same situation, those guys changed their game when they figured out they weren't able to do the stuff that they were able to do when they were 2 or 3 or 4 years removed, right? From going to a different team. Things are different. Your body's different. You're older. You have to be able to change. It's adapt or die, right? And I don't think Aaron Rodgers is the adaptable kind of guy. It's like the Aaron Rodgers show, and that's that. So you don't know what you're going to get with him. Now, if you get an Aaron Rodgers that says, listen, man, I got 1 more year left, and maybe I'll just do it the way the team wants me to do it, the coaches want me to do it, and let's ride that out and see what happens, we may have a different season. But if you get the Aaron Rodgers that wants to go, think that he can still change these plays up at the line, the cadence, right? All this, they talked about the cadence with Aaron Rodgers. Bro, I can't tell you how many times we false started already this season, or delay of game penalties have been crazy. That's one of two things. Either coaching ain't getting the play in quick enough, or Aaron Rodgers doesn't have the internal clock that he thought he used to have. And you got to adapt. You got to change. right? You're older. You can't move that well, right? You got a job. And if you look at the offense, right? A lot of the guys ain't on the same page. He's throwing balls in spots where he think they're gonna be and they're not there. Now
Right.
that's one of two things, right? It ain't gonna be Aaron Rodgers to say that's on me, right? Bro, I can't tell you how many times the camera goes on him after he makes a bad throw, or it's just a play that's just botched. I'm just tired of seeing his expressions and just
It's
his
frustrating.
demeanor,
It's
right?
frustrating. Yeah.
Because if I'm your teammate, dog, if I'm your teammate, right, the last thing I want is my quarterback to be either beating himself up or beating up other people on the field for not running the right route. And we don't know, was it the right route, just the wrong throw, or vice versa, right? We don't know. But it just looks bad all the way around. And you can't tell me that by now y'all don't have that kind of chemistry, right? At least a little bit of chemistry to be able to make something out of nothing. And
Here's
it
my
happens
thing with
sometimes
that,
and it
right?
doesn't.
At first, I thought maybe everybody else wasn't really getting on the same page as Aaron Rodgers. I thought to myself, man, these guys aren't getting it. They're not processing it, man. And then we've seen it happen with Devontae Adams. The Devontae Adams acquisition to me coming in here, and then we're going into week 4 now from being on this team, and
Yep.
they still seem to not be on the same page.
Sure.
And in my head, I'm thinking to myself, all right, at some point, you know what I'm saying, Rodgers can look around and be like, hey, figure it out. But when Devontae Adams, who you swore to us, you guys are on the same page, Devontae said the same thing. Now you can't even connect with him. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Like, at, maybe Rodgers, look at yourself, my guy. Maybe it's you. I think you said it beautifully, right? In terms of the reason why Peyton Manning was able to go to the Broncos and lead those guys to a championship, a Super Bowl, and winning it was because he was adaptable. He's also never been a mobile guy, never had the strongest arm, always had to depend on his IQ to go ahead and do what he was a field general, and he had to depend on his IQ to do his job. Same thing with a guy like Tom Brady. Not very mobile, not the strongest arm, high IQ guy, clutch when it mattered. He also had to adapt his game a little bit when he went to Tampa Bay. Now, granted, he was able to bring his offense to Tampa Bay, but still kind of tailor it to the new personnel he had around him. Rodgers doesn't appear to have that ability. And I think as a fan, I was very blinded to that. That I thought to myself when people were saying like, "Oh, it's Aaron Rodgers," you know what I'm saying? Like he's stubborn.
Yeah.
His football IQ isn't as great as he thinks it is. I'm like, well, shut up. It's Aaron freaking Rodgers. You're out of your mind. My wife is a Packers fan, so I've watched this dude play football for the last freaking 15 years. Like I've seen this dude ball out, bro. Like he knows football. He's a high IQ guy. He'll be fine. But I'm seeing it in real time, and I'm like, wow, he seems to be the person never on the same page. And if you ever, I don't know if you ever watched the All 22 tape, right? But if you look at like All 22 tape, which gives you the coach's perspective of when they're looking at film,
Mm-hmm.
guys get open. Like Devontae, Conklin, freaking Wilson, they get open. It
Yeah.
just seems like Aaron Rodgers is, again, like you said, not expecting. I think he's expecting them to be a specific spot, and they're not there. And I'm starting to wonder what playbook is he thinking about? Like what is the thought process that he's thinking about that they're supposed to be there? Because when you're looking at tape, guys get open. It's happening consistently.
Yeah.
So it's becoming clear to me that Rodgers might really be the issue. Like he might be the guy that thinks he still has it, like you said, but he's not as mobile as he once was. He's again still trying to run the same kind of offense from when he used to be a more of a mobile quarterback, a guy that can kind of get up to the line of scrimmage and make the adjustments. Bro, you're not processing as fast as you think you are because the clock is winding down. It's got to the point now where he's become a liability. So do you bring him back next year? And that's the real question, right? Do you think he's worth bringing back next year? If not, what's the solution? Because I'm looking at the draft right now, and I won't lie to you, I don't see a quarterback in the draft that really excites me.
Sure.
Um, I think for me, if I had to go the free agent route, I like a couple of guys, but call me crazy. Justin Fields might be available. Gardner Minshew might be available. You know, I've heard some people talk about, trading for JJ McCarthy because Sam Darnold is playing so well. I don't think that's going to be a realistic thing. I think Sam Darnold winds up leaving this year and JJ gets his shot over there. A guy like Penix right now who's behind a Kirk Cousins, although Kirk Cousins looks like he's pretty much playing like a bum now too. Like, do you see a quarterback option better than the potential of what an Aaron Rodgers might be for us next year? Or do we just suck it up, go with Aaron Rodgers, and then look for our quarterback in the 2026 draft?
I think whatever we do, if Aaron decides to come back, that's a train that we just gonna have to ride, right? It, it's gonna be what it is. You would just hope that we get a different Aaron Rodgers. Um, I like the bridge quarterback situation that they've been talking about, where you bring Rodgers back and then you have a QB that sits behind him to figure out how to really run this offense, because now we're going to turn the keys over to you. We need somebody right now, and my gut feeling is Rodgers comes back next year, right? He's not gonna let this season be the end of his legacy. That's not
Yeah.
gonna happen. That's not gonna happen. So we need a quarterback that can sit behind him and really be a sponge. Who that is, I don't know. I don't think it's in the next this draft, right? Um, you got to forgive me on this, but I know we have one of the rookies, I think, on the practice squad. What's his name?
We got Jordan Travis.
Jordan Travis.
Yeah, FSU
Uh,
quarterback.
I mean, I don't know what's going on with that situation. I think he's been dealing with some injuries or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, he got injured his last year in college, right? It's one of the reasons why FSU got pulled from the playoffs last year. It's because he got injured going into the end of the
That's right.
season.
That's right. That's right.
Um,
That's right.
and news just came out that he had a setback as well. So like he looked like he was progressing. Now
That's
there's
what it
a
was.
setback. Not sure what the setback looks like in terms of him being able to play next year. He was never going to play this year anyway because he was on the NFI list, so he was not eligible to play this season at all. But he's somebody that I look at, and again, maybe it's the goggles, right? Being a Jets fan, I look at and think to myself, all right, this dude has literally had to elevate himself at every single tier of his football career, right? Whether it was high school, college, he's always had to go ahead and elevate and just prove wrong the doubters, and he's won. Great leadership ability, very, very athletic. I know his arm is a little bit limited, but again, I think he's a high IQ guy.
But
And
that's what you want,
you
right?
want that.
You want
Exactly.
somebody that hasn't had the easy road to come in and
Yep.
just get the keys to the car. I want somebody that is the dog that wants to know he wants to be the best, and he's always got to prove himself. Because what it is when he goes and runs that huddle, guys are gonna see that, and they're gonna see that in his eyes. We need somebody in that quarter. We need somebody in that offensive huddle that the guys look at and be like, oh shit, we scoring on this drive.
Yep.
We scored on this drive,
Facts.
right? I mean, sometimes, bro, you gotta let, and I think that's the problem with the Jets. They've been bad for so long, 9 years, no, losing record. I think that they're very quick to bail on a project rather than make the project better. And it's always been like that. And then you got to ask yourself, well, why is it that no quarterback can really elevate when they're in a Jets uniform? Because we've had a couple, and it just seems as if, right, we either bail too quick and don't let it mature and blossom into what it's supposed to be, because we want to win so bad, ownership wants to win so bad, or it's just or we just really that cursed, bro.
I think I think what it boils down to, man, it's hard not to believe we're cursed, right? Like I watched my boy do his wow Johnny Boy did his show last week, and they did a whole exorcism of the curse, right? Like they lit on fire a replica um, Namath Namath doll, right? Like I think at this point, man, you look at some of the things we've had to endure, and it's extremely difficult, man. It's extremely difficult to not look at it and think, damn, we've got to be cursed because it doesn't make any sense. You again look at this team, right? And all we wanted was Aaron Rodgers to be the same Aaron Rodgers he was his last year in Green Bay. Like I think the majority of fans were like, listen, I don't think we're going to get an MVP Aaron Rodgers. I don't think we even get an All Pro Aaron Rodgers, but a guy with a top 10 stat line Aaron Rodgers, I'll take that. I'll take that, and that'll do damage with this freaking roster, with this team, with this talent. That's all we were asking for. And instead, we get Zach Wilson 2.0. And this is a guy who's been playing at the highest level at the NFL in the NFL. And we get Zach Wilson 2.0. And I don't know how else to explain it, man. This whole season has been bizarre. Bizarre, I
Yeah.
think, is the only word really to explain it. Because the talent as individuals, they've proven in the NFL. Like we've got a bunch of talented guys on this team. But as a team, they're incapable. They're just not functioning. And when it matters most, the talent doesn't shine through. These guys are easily broken, and these are guys who have played, again, high levels of football against high level opponents and have come out on top. Your Garrett Wilsons, your Brees Halls, your Aaron Rodgers. Like, and somehow, some way, right now you put them all together, and they're one of the worst teams in the NFL. And again, it boils down to me as the title of this stream, man, is the hidden impact of the Jets coaching. I think when you've got it wrong at the coaching level, then it doesn't matter how much talent you've got. When you can't bring a coach, you can't have a coach that can
Mm.
go ahead and make the talent mold together and play like a team. It's a moot point, and this is what we're actually witnessing right now happen to us live. Like it's a moot point. This team is incapable of playing football the way we need them to, we want them to. Um, these boys are these boys are beat, man. I
Think
mean,
think
they're
think about this, Gunny. Even with as bad as this team is playing, because we're not gonna call them bad, right? They're just playing bad
they're
football,
playing bad. Yeah.
right? You still have media out there saying these guys might win out and sneak into the playoffs. Like with as bad as they're so that's what that's what bothers me the most is that fans and media have more confidence in this team to turn around a 3-8 season, win out, which the schedule was a little bit favorable to be able to do that. It was going to be some tough games, but they were still saying it was possible. And then every game that we need, we walk into, and it's like, we can't beat Arizona. Damn. All right. Arizona was playing good. We knew it wasn't going to be a pushover, but we needed that game, right? Um, Seattle. I was a firm believer. And look, I've had Geno Smith on my fantasy team all year long. So I've been watching and I know what Seattle been doing. But I felt like the matchup was in our favor. And think about this, right? And it's got to come down to coaching, like you say, and it's got to come down to offense. We started out the game with what everybody wanted to see.
Yep.
Braylon Allen on the field,
Yep.
Brees Hall out on the field together, running this little pistol offense. And then if you think about it, we go up 21, we make no adjustments. You know, Seattle's coaching, they're going to come in, they're going to make adjustments, they're going to take things away. And we just stuck with the same game plan like we do every single time. And bro, to be up 21-7, could have been 28-7, 21-7, and we just let it, we just gave it back. I mean, that's the second game we went with more than 17 points unanswered in the second half to lose a game. That's crazy. That's crazy talk.
That's Jets football, my guy. That is Jets football, and that's really the only way you can look at it to make sense of it. Because if you really try to process to make logical sense of why this team is this bad, you can't.
You
You can't
can't.
do it.
You
And
can't.
and and it's just gotten to the point now where we're like, nah, this is just who they are. This
Yeah.
is just a bum ass team.
It's
Um,
embarrassing.
it's embarrassing. It's beyond embarrassing.
This got to
Every
be the
troll
this
that's coming
this got
for
to
us.
be this got to be the worst NFL debacle I think probably ever
Yeah, no, I
with that type of roster.
yeah, 100%. I think for me, man, this is the worst season I've had as a Jets fan. Because purely of just how much the expectations like were warranted, right? Like the expectations were warranted. We had the talent, we had the roster. This team was supposed to go ahead and be the team that, at the very least, made us playoff contender. Like get into the playoffs and contend, right? You can surprise somebody, and it's their worst. It's like one of the worst outcomes I've had as a Jets fan, in since '96 when I became a fan. Like I don't know how it's possible when you look at the collection of talent on this team, when you look at how easy our schedule was, when you look at the AFC East as a whole, going through this whole process where you're like, man, the Buffalo Bills taking massive steps backwards. They've lost freaking key components on offense and defense. Ha, wide open. Miami
Yep.
Dolphins. Yeah, they didn't take care of the offensive line. They didn't even do any crap. This is gonna be great. And we're third in the division right now, bottom of the division in third place, just barely staying ahead of freaking the Patriots. The Buffalo Bills have already clinched the division December 2nd. Like December 2nd, the AFC East has been decided. That is just it's nasty works. And they did it because they were able to evolve and
Yep.
adapt and win games as a team. And we've got a whole bunch of these stars on our team that just don't. We've got a bunch of individual star players on our team that don't know how to play as a team.
Yeah.
We have a bunch of coaches that don't know how to go ahead and put a team together. So ultimately, the output is what we're seeing right now. Pure embarrassment because as a fan base, I think one, we were really expecting and hoping for better, and yet this is what we got. This is it. This is our story. So
Yeah.
frustrating, bro. Like I think that's the only way to put it. It's frustrating because I really didn't expect it to go down like this. I thought this year was going to be different. And now we're going into the year of the rebuild. Now, I was saying earlier, the New York Jets somehow, some way, are still considered in the fights. I don't know how. This is again how weak the AFC is, and we couldn't take advantage of it. We couldn't even take advantage of it. Um,
Uh, that
but yeah,
is wild with Miami.
right,
So
bruh.
what's even crazier is Miami gives you a running head start. Their quarterback
Yeah,
goes down.
yeah, and they're 2 games up on us, bro. 2 games up on us.
I
You can't make
mean,
this stuff up, man. Like this is going to go. I think this is going to be one of those seasons that needs to be studied. Like you're going to have analysts really trying to figure out how it went so wrong for the New York Jets because it just doesn't make sense. Like for you to have this level of talent and yet this disconnect on playing football as a team to be this bad, 3-9. 3-9. Miami Dolphins didn't have their quarterback for half the season. They're up 2 games on us. The Buffalo Bills, who literally got rid of every star player, every player of note. They kept Josh Allen. That's it. They kept Josh Allen. And
let me ask you this, Gunny.
what's good?
Where where do we go from here? Right? You asked me. Now you from the professional side of things. Where do we go from here knowing Aaron Rodgers is coming back next year?
I think that's the biggest problem. I think that I do. I'm with you. I think that Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback next year. Um, I think this search for the GM, the search for the head coach, it's going to come with the tagline of Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback next year. We still believe we can win some. Like that's going to be the debate. That's going to, I think, take a lot of some of those big name guys away from us. Like me right now, I would love to have a John Dorsey or a Ray Agnew in the building to be the general manager.
Hmm.
I'm praying that Ben Johnson would look at this and think to himself, you got Brees Hall, Garrett Wilson, you know what I'm saying? You got Olu Fashanu on the left side already. We got a great center. You've got the foundational pieces of your offense. And yeah, I got to deal with Aaron Rodgers for a year, but then next year I can have a shot at Archie Manning. Like I'm trying to convince myself that he'll look at this and think to himself, worst case scenario, in 2026, I get to draft Archie Manning, or best case scenario, Aaron Rodgers somehow plays well under my offensive scheme because I'm going to cater this offense to his skill set, utilizing his creativity, and he's going to take a chance. Like I'm hoping that's the case, but this team doesn't. It doesn't matter if we don't get the GM and the head coach right, and really the head coach. I think we need an offensive-minded head coach. I'm with you. I'm sick and tired of the defensive-minded head coach thing. In the 21st century, only 3 head coaches that have been defensive-minded oriented have won the Super Bowl. It's a dying breed of football.
Hmm.
We've had a great defense for the last couple of years. It's literally done nothing for us. And then this year, coming into 2025, 2024, we thought, oh, defense should be good. We just need an offensive. We have neither on either side. So the fact of the matter is, as football has evolved, these coaches are finding more creative ways to score. And let's be honest, the NFL wants to see more points, so they're tailoring the game more so to be more flexible and more offensive oriented. So
Yeah.
they're all about defenses getting skunked and getting embarrassed. So I want an offensive minded head coach. I know a lot of people want Mike Vrabel. I saw Pete Carroll being mentioned as well as somebody that they're interested in, and I don't get it. You know what I'm saying? Like we've seen these guys have their opportunity. Well, Pete Carroll did great until he was done. Vrabel hasn't been able to go ahead and take a team to the promised land yet. Now you want him to come to New York and reinvent himself. Listen, man, just give me the hot shot offensive coordinator who can put points up on the board. If you want to go ahead and bring in a guy like, Pete for a part-time defensive coordinator spot, you want to keep Ulbrich and he just does I don't care. But if we don't get offensive-minded people in this building, it's not going to matter.
Yeah.
If we go the defensive-minded route again, we're going to be it's the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over and over again, expecting different results. We already know how this is planned out. It doesn't work out. I want an
Yeah.
offensive-minded head coach, and again, my dream pick is Ben Johnson. And if we got to suck it up and keep Aaron Rodgers, I am not for it. I would like to see us just go ahead and bite the bullet, take the cap hit now. Because if he comes on board next year, I think the hit for us when he does leave the following year is almost $60 million.
It's like 60 million. Yeah.
Bruh, 60 mil. Whereas if we take the hit now, it's 35. So I'm definitely team let Rodgers go. It was fun. We tried it. We're not winning with him. Uh, I believe Garrett Wilson is the only person right now of that draft class that I would solidify in terms of a contract. I think Garrett Wilson has proven to us with bad QB play, he continues to be a guy that's been in the top 15 in the NFL. I could only imagine what he would look like with good QB play. So I really believe that Garrett Wilson has so much more to show us that we haven't had a chance to see yet. So we signed him, add an extension to him. If you want to go ahead and do the same thing for Brees, okay. But if I'm being honest with you, I love what I've seen from Brandon Allen. So I wouldn't really be in a rush to go ahead and throw money at the running back position. As we all know, the tires on those guys get worn out pretty fast. I'd rather go ahead and stick with the young guys. You got Brees Hall for one more year anyway under contract. So let's see what he has next year. Don't rush it.
Yeah.
But that being said, Ben Johnson being able to build an offense around these key components, and you've still got playmakers on defense too. Like we said before, this team has talent. You got Sauce Gardner. You've got freaking, well, I think we're going to lose freaking DJ Reed, which sucks because I would like to keep him. But Will McDonald right now just hit double-digit sacks with 5 games left to go in the season.
He's on fire.
He's on fire. You got Quincy. You got Quinnen. Um, there's pieces on the defensive side of the football that, with better coaching, I really believe better coaching is going to matter. You've
Mhm.
got the foundational pieces and elements there. So I don't think we're that far away. I just don't. I don't believe this team is a 3-9 team, even though our record says we are. And at the end of the day, you are what your record says you are. I
Mhm.
believe coaching has impacted or limited this team quite a bit, and Aaron Rodgers, who's just, in my opinion, washed up. So Give it to Jordan Travis next year. Let's see what Jordan Travis can do. Maybe he can go ahead and be the guy that winds up being the next franchise quarterback. Let's not forget, freaking a guy like Tom Brady was a 6th-round pick. So we got him in the 4th, I believe.
Yeah,
You never
yeah,
know. You just
yeah.
don't know until you actually get them on the field and see these guys play football. I look at the Miami Dolphins right now, man, and I think that they're going to put themselves in the continual spiral, right? They're going to go ahead and win just enough games to potentially either just make the wild card and be one and done or miss the playoffs. I don't think they're going to go ahead and fire anybody there. So that's a team that's going to continue in this cycle of purgatory. The Buffalo Bills, I think at this point now we just got to accept it. They're this the AFC East generation of the Patriots, right? Not in
They're the
terms
new
of Super
Patriots.
Bowl, they're the new Patriots, but
Yep.
not Super Bowl contenders, but they're going to be the AFC East kings until they're dethroned.
Yep.
Somehow, some way, with less talent on their roster, they've played better. they've literally played better on offense and on defense this year, which leads me to believe that coaching is way more important than we give credit to when it comes to NFL football. And that Josh Allen is a dude. The dude literally threw a touchdown pass, ran one in, caught a touchdown pass this last game. I watched that game and I sat there and I'm like, this kid is just impressive. And he had to be in the AFC East. We got to deal with this motherfucker for the next God knows how long. So
I'm kind of okay with that though. Josh Allen, he's scary, but he doesn't scare me like that because I feel like we have the answers for him. When we play him, we have the answers for him. Now, granted, not as of late, but I mean, he's the thing about the Bills is, like you said, coaching, general managers, getting rid of the right people, bringing the right people in. They're running the Patriots blueprint right now. You know what I mean? And that's just something that I don't feel like we're ever gonna have as a Jets fan.
not in our lifetime anyway. Doesn't feel that way. It's just gotten to the point, man, where this is the acceptance stage, right? Where like, we went through denial, you know what I'm saying? Like we thought, and now we're just here, we're just like, man, this just might be our life. This might be the life that we've chosen for ourselves. And at some point or another, you just gotta look at it and say, so be it.
Yeah.
But that's I guess that's the
Silver
show, man.
silver lining though. You were spot on with Fashion Week.
Yeah. Olu
Spot on.
definitely has been a bright. In fact, the last 2 first-round picks we've had, man, Will and Olu. I
Will
mean, in,
McDonald.
in
I
two,
called it from the beginning. He's an animal.
yeah, it just needs some time. I know his size is a concern, but in terms of his bend, his athleticism, his speed, the dude has a disgusting spin move, and you've seen him add other repertoires to his arsenal to get to the
Yep.
quarterback. Will McDonald's going to be a problem for years, bro. Like for
Yep.
years. And as his confidence continues to build, I think that's going to go ahead and go a long way.
Yep.
Olu has looked good in back-to-back games now at the left tackle position, and I'm I know a lot of people are going to say, well, Brock Bowers is going to be a first team All Pro in his first year, which is true. He probably will be. That's not a lie.
Hmm.
But the foundational component, the prime position is a left tackle, and to have one for the next 10 to 15 years is priceless.
Yeah.
That's one of the hardest positions to get right, and I think Olu is that dude. He's showing us a lot right now in terms of his ability to be a tactician, and he's only going to get better in the run game as well too.
Yep.
Even though he's shown a little bit of mauling capability this past week. Yeah, Olu was definitely a bright spot, and so is Will McDonald. I would
Yeah.
say Olu, Will, and Garrett Wilson are bright spots to me when it comes to the young core of this team. And Sauce Gardner's taking massive steps backwards, but what's crazy about the massive steps backwards is he's still a top 10 cornerback.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people don't, and
I'm not.
I've
I'm
been
not. I'm not. I'm not. I'm not throwing my cards in on Sauce at all.
Yeah, I've been agitated. I've been agitated about freaking Sauce. I won't lie. But when I sit back and I take the fan helmet off real quick and look at the game, I'm like, the dude is the ninth ranked cornerback in football right now. He's still playing at a significantly high level, but we're
Absolutely.
so accustomed to the All Pro level of play from him. Um, but hey, listen, it's the NFL. Teams adjust. They've learned to adjust against him too. That really
Hmm.
does matter.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I just there is a lot of good, man, and Johnny Boy says it beautifully, man. And Johnny Boy, it didn't work. You tried the exorcism of the curse, and last week it didn't work like we thought it was going to. Um, but yeah, I think when you look at those components, man, you at premium positions, you got a wide receiver, you got a cornerback, you got a left tackle, you got an edge. And I think all of those guys are going to be top 15 guys in the NFL for a very long time. And a couple of them might be top 5 guys. So I think that's key, right, in terms of building around them. So I do see a scenario where if we get John Dorsey or Ray Agnew in the building, I do believe that Ben Johnson is very much a possibility. If we don't get one of those guys as the GM, I think then it's more of a long shot. So here's to hoping that we bring one of those guys into the building when we get Ben Johnson. But yeah, now Olu is the man, and I think that's something that we can kind of all kind of like hold our, I guess, our hat to in regards to like
hang our
hang
hat
our
on.
hat on. Yeah, hang our hat on because
Yeah.
that's gonna be key, right? In seeing this team continue to develop and grow, and he's gonna be the guy that protects the future quarterback of this team, and that
Now,
matters.
do you go offensive line as your first pick?
So I like offensive line and I like the interior defensive lineman. I'm having a brain fart right now on what his name is, but the interior defensive line.
It's all good. No names needed. Just
You know what?
position
As a matter
wise.
of fact, are you free to come on the show next week? Because I got to go ahead and figure out why we went on YouTube today. And next week we'll see how the Jets do this weekend, and then
Yeah.
we'll talk about some key players. That way we got our homework assignment for next week.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I wanted to get some stats and some stuff that
Yeah,
we really need to go over and talk about because it's head scratching, man. You look at it on paper, which I've done. I've looked at it on paper. I don't know how I flipped again,
yeah, that's
but
weird.
right. But
That's
I've looked
very
at
weird.
it. I've looked at it on paper, and
Uh-huh.
it's like, man, there's no way we could be this bad.
No, there's no, that's what I'm saying. I don't believe it. Like I know we're seeing it, right? But it's just hard to fathom when you take into consideration the level of talent these guys have. And I
Yeah.
can I can only explain it as coaching has been horrendous on this team to where that these guys have taken steps backwards. And it's also possible that a guy like a freaking Sauce Gardner is finally getting his sophomore slump. I think we forget that used to be a thing. People forget that you would have players come out right in out of the NFL. They would just blow it up in their first year, just like really dominate. And then the sophomore slump was a real thing you had to worry about. I think with Sauce Gardner, he had back-to-back years as an All-Pro, and now you're seeing him as a top 10 cornerback, vice the top 1 or 2, which is his sophomore slump, and the patience has gone out the window. And again, I'm guilty of it as a fanatic, right? Like as a fan, you're embarrassing us. We needed you to go ahead and show up this year. You're not show, so I get it. But logically speaking, this is a guy who's literally the ninth overall cornerback in football right now. And we're
Hmm.
mad because he's not 1 or 2 because that's what he's given us the first 2 years. So sophomore slumps, I guess, sometimes happens in year 3. But
Listen, with the way that the NFL are calling penalties right now on wide receivers, I mean, it's hard to be a top one or two, three
that's a
corner.
good point.
You
That's a
can't
good
you
point.
can't breathe on somebody nowadays. And Sauce, don't get me wrong,
He
I,
grab
I
you.
think I think all of our corners are
Yeah. There you go.
right? But I mean, it just seems like there's nothing you can do without drawing a flag.
Yeah.
And
It's been
I feel like we have the perfect quarterback to put some of these guys in those situations to get our flags, and we can't do that.
can't take advantage of it. Man, you gotta love it. But now his name is Mason Graham. That's the guy I'm thinking about. Appreciate you, Wild Wave. Yeah, Mason Graham has looked good. So, and I know it's like interior defensive lineman, probably a top. We're gonna have probably a top 6, top 7 pick this year. But yeah, let's do this, man. Can you be on the show next week?
Yeah, no doubt,
Bet.
man.
So next Tuesday we'll do this again, and we're gonna go ahead and talk about some prospects that could potentially help impact and fast track this change.
Yeah,
Um, and then we'll just chop it up and talk about it then.
yeah, man. Yeah, I appreciate everything, Gunny. Thanks for the platform. I mean, you're doing your thing. Love to see your show blow up, man.
Appreciate you, bro. Appreciate you coming on, man. I know it was last minute. Well, I invited you last night. You didn't respond to today, but I'm glad you were able to go ahead and make it
We
happen.
was on the same wave. He was on the same wave, bro. I was like, yo, let me call Gunny and see what's going on.
I hit you up on Facebook. You shot me a text. So next time I'll just shoot you a text.
There you go, man. But yo, I
Oh,
appreciate it,
man.
man. And as one Jet fan to another, man, we'll see what happens next weekend.
Yep. Hopefully it's not the same old Jets, but let's be honest, it
Yeah.
might be.
No,
It
no,
might.
no one else will win out, and we won't even get a top 10 draft pick.
And that would be also a very Jets thing. It wouldn't even
Yeah,
shock me if that wound up being what happened to us,
yeah,
because that's just how we roll.
yeah, yeah.
All right, brother. Well, I'll see you next week, man. Appreciate you, Marcus.
Appreciate you.
Tell the
Yes,
folks where they
sir.
can go ahead and find you, man.
Oh, still, man, I'm
You still
still
working on it?
MIA,
All
still
right.
MIA. But they can find me when I'm with you.
I bet. You'll catch him here again
I
next week. Appreciate
appreciate
you,
you,
Doc.
Gunny. Yes, sir.
Have a good night. Well, that's the show. I want to apologize to everyone on YouTube that couldn't see this, but I see a lot of y'all jumped on Twitch and jumped on Twitter. I appreciate you guys. I've had a couple on Instagram as well. I'm going to figure out what the heck was going on. Recently did an update with Ari Stream. It might be that I'm processing this stream at too high of a I guess resolution. I got upgraded to the 1080p, so your boy was trying to go a little bit more high def. Maybe that's the problem. I'm not too sure, but I would assume YouTube would have taken it and just pretty much brought it back down to the seven. I think it's 720 is what they prefer their content at. So I'm gonna figure it out. I'm gonna get this uploaded here as an additional video. Appreciate you guys for dealing with this, man, chopping it up with me. Wild Way, Dia, man, appreciate you, Johnny Boy. Um, and I know a lot of individuals are still watching and they weren't able to comment. Basil, man, I appreciate you. Sorry that you couldn't see it on YouTube, but I saw you jumped on X. Trying to miss nobody, and I appreciate you guys, man. Thank you again very much for watching the Hangar Hangout episode. 34? Man, this thing is rolling. As always, go Jets. Next week's episode should be a fun one. How can the Jets fix themselves for the 2025 season? I can't believe we're already in mock draft season. Ah, well. Hope you had a great Thanksgiving.
I can do it all, I will never fall off the renaissance. You know that I got the mother sauce, man. You know I'm the boss, I know what it costs. Have you ever lost? I'm so versatile, yeah, I'm a renaissance, man. I can do it all, I will never fall off the renaissance. You know that I got the mother sauce, man. You know I'm the boss, I know what it costs. Have you ever lost? I'm so versatile, yeah, I'm a renaissance, man.